Hey everyone, my name is Dr. Dolores Tarver. I'm a licensed psychologist here in Georgia, and it is time for the TT Time with Dr. Tarver is a wellness-based podcast. It is not intended to be a substitute for a relationship with a licensed mental health provider. You made it to Thanksgiving week. I know those of you who are educators are excited about having a week off. I know the kids are excited about being out of school, and I'm sure there are a good bit of you who are taking some much needed breaks from work and caregiving responsibilities and all of the things that is required for adulting. And I'm so proud of you for taking some time to invest in yourself. We are focusing this month and in the month of December on hope in humanity, and just getting back to the things that give us joy and remind us to be thankful and grateful and appreciative, and that people are kind and loving, and that even in all of the hustle and bustle that we get into that is stressful, and the things that we see politically, the things that we sometimes see on social media, that the majority of folks out there want the same kind of things you do, and that is to lead healthy lives and to be in relationships with people who care about them and want them to be the best version of themselves. So we have been in this series addressing a lot of different things. We have last week talked about the magic of music, and I know a lot of people do enjoy music. That is one of the things that makes us feel really good. We have been talking a bit about, like I said, kindness, and being able to navigate through the difficult things by finding those joys. And I was led today thinking about some of the things that I look forward to during the holiday season to talk about Game On. You guessed it, the power of board games and arts and crafts at family functions, and just in your time in general with people that you care about, your friends, your family, your coworkers. When you're on those retreats, we enjoy being able to do things that are a little bit nostalgic for us and allow us to escape to those times in our lives where things weren't just as complicated as they are now, and that you could actually just enjoy beating somebody in a good old game of Uno, or playing the game of life with your family, or a little double Dutch hopscotch with your friends out in the neighborhood. So, why do we encourage games, arts and crafts? Like, why is that important, and how can that be useful to you as you approach this holiday season? Well, first, let's just kind of talk about the benefits of what games and arts and crafts do. And I know a lot of you are immediately thinking video games, which, of course, there are active things you can do as a family. There may be some virtual bowling games and some virtual tennis games and baseball and all of those things. But I'm really talking about those games that allow you to be able to just slow down, not have a lot of stimuli going on around you, but to be able to use those critical thinking skills. And so that's one of the things that happens when we're doing games and arts and crafts. And so you all may build a gingerbread house. You may even remember old school. You used to make that turkey out of your hand. Trace around your hand and make that cute turkey. It may have been you creating a craft that was for the holiday, all that good noodle art that we used to do, and beans. And these are things that are inexpensive and readily available that you can utilize. You can pick them up for almost anywhere, and they're fun arts and crafts that you can do, right? So, one, they're cost effective because we know we're trying to cut costs during the holiday season. Money tends to be one of the biggest things that stresses people out during the holiday season. And two, crafts and games allow you to incorporate a variety of people. So it doesn't matter what your abilities are, because I know sometimes we're limited. We have some elderly loved ones or people with varying level of ability that can't get out and do a lot of walking. And I know some people like to get out and then go walk and then go see lights, or they may want to go to Black Friday shopping sales, or they may want to go to some events. And it is difficult sometimes with people who have limited mobility, get tired easily, have a lot of pain, to be able to withstand standing for long periods of time, or even be out in the elements are kind of changing now. We're getting more of that cold, wet weather in a lot of places. And so, wanting to be mindful of our loved ones. You all know I like to use Nana. We don't want to have Nana out here in this bronchitis pneumonia weather, right? We want to be able to make sure that she's safe and she's dry and not out here in the rain, and that we're also not aggravating people's illnesses by having them out in weather that can be kind of tough. Because I do know, like, people like to go ice skating and you want to go and pick out a tree and all of those things, but there are lots of things that you can do at home that will involve a lot of different people that may be able not to go to some of the physical outings where you leave the house, right? So we got space for both. It's not a either or, it's a both and. So we can both do those things for those of you that like to get out and want to get those kids out so they can get some energy out, build a snowman, all the good stuff, but also being able to make room and space for people that may not necessarily be able to do those things, right? And so, what does it do? It builds this spirit of inclusiveness when we have different crafts and activities that everyone can participate in. I know that a lot of y'all haven't done that popcorn trimming for the tree because you got all these fancy things that you can get out here at the Cracker Barrel. However, those are great ways to allow the younger kids who you don't want to touch your delicate ornaments to be able to be engaged and have something crafty to be able to do. And what it also does is it allows us to grow in affirming our abilities, because we know that everybody has a different level of ability. Some of us aren't great cooks. Some of us don't decorate really well. I told you a few episodes ago that I will have a gap in that tree. I will not be able to get those leaves spread and fill that tree in. That wasn't my gift, right? So, but you have people at all levels of abilities who can participate in your arts and crafts and in your different games, because you can have a variety of different things for people to be able to do. So that's very affirming when you feel like, hey, like I did something. I have this product I get to show. Kids are so proud. And you'll really see adults being really proud when they're able to finish something like, hey, that turned out pretty all right. So when you end up having those gingerbread houses that you all are building, when you end up I've loved to see people create snow scenes. And so you can use those styrofoam balls, you can use cotton balls. Like, there's just a lot of ways to be able to do that. Even your construction paper, and be able to create these winter scenes that people can create their own logos. Like, there's just a lot of different ways to be able to do that. But then when you also add in there that now these are things we're doing together. And I know sometimes we feel very disconnected intergenerationally with our kids and with our older adults. And it's like, I don't like any of that stuff, and I don't want to play a video game. Like, I don't have that kind of hand-eye coordination, and my arthritis won't really let me do that. Or maybe visually that just it's hard for me, all that moving stuff going on at one time, the noise, it might just be a lot, right? But I can do these crafts with you, or I can do some board games with you, because that allows us to both be able to engage and play and have some fun. And it also, I know a lot of you are trying to find ways to get your young'uns off those social media sites and off the electronic devices. And so this is time where they can be off those things that builds cognitive reasoning. Yes, problem solving. So when we do arts and crafts, when we play those board games, it builds cognitive reasoning skills. It allows you to be able to problem solve. One of the things I used to love to do with my child, and I think I mentioned this before, I love those memory games. One, because as I'm getting older, my memory is not what it used to be, though one could kind of question whether or not my memory was ever really great. However, I have noticed as I've gotten older, it definitely is like, if I don't write it down, that's not happening. So those are great ways to engage with a lot of different levels of kids, particularly those who may not be old enough to play like that game of life or some of the other games that require maybe a skill set that's beyond where they are, and their attention span may not also in a game of life can last for a good minute, or Monopoly, right? And that we have some other options for them. And so those kind of games, Go Fish, even you all remember the little cute game where you'd have the little fishing rod and you had to pick up one of the little fish. So even things like that can also help with their hand-eye coordination, their memory, their cognitive functioning, problem solving. Because what am I trying to do? I'm trying to figure out, okay, why isn't that strategy working, and what's another strategy that works well? But even as you do karaoke, we talked about music last time, and those karaoke games where you got to make sure you're getting the words in and hitting the notes, that allows for precision, right? And causes you to focus and have to concentrate. So sometimes we're like having difficulty feeling like people are disengaged and they're not really present. You have to really be present for some of those games and activities, because if you're not present, you're going to miss out on opportunity. Simon, you all remember Simon, which is a game of not only memory, but also like the sequence, of being able to remember the sequencing of things. And so it requires a lot of cognitive skills that maybe sometimes don't get necessarily used if we're not engaging in any games. It also, remember I think the struggle for some of us when we were younger, in that you're to be seen and not heard generation, like this allows kids to be actively present in ways that are healthy, right? Because we want our kids to be doing things that are age appropriate, like y'all don't need to be at the Domino's table with Uncle Jed drinking that Bud Light. However, it is absolutely appropriate for us to be playing some different games with you and allowing you to be able to learn how to play Uno. You all may remember the first time you played Uno, and it's like, wait, what am I supposed to be doing? Now, what's this do? And then once you learn the rules, you get better and better at it. Checkers. Some of you may be skilled enough to be able to play chess. I think I'm like beginner's level to be able to understand what all these pieces do. But that's a good opportunity too. And as you have kids of varying abilities with regard to their cognitive skills, then yeah, you may have a kid who would love to play with some of the family members that do know how to play chess. And then you may have some kids who checkers may be more appropriate for them. All right. And then you may have some kids who they may be using Play-Doh, and they may be making ornaments out of Play-Doh, or creating different scenes out of Play-Doh. And so you can find so many different ways to really engage. Team building, being able to, like we talk about how sometimes our kids can struggle when they don't win, and their feelings get hurt and they get overwhelmed. It's like, oh, everybody's better than me. I never win. He always wins. So this is an opportunity to really work on that, because you see that there are a lot of people that didn't win in this environment, but we're getting better. We're learning more things, and not to mention we're having fun. And that's what it's all about, is making these memories. You will have people who will make crafts out of pictures. And so I know you all remember those old Polaroids. So taking some Polaroid pictures and making some crafts, those old school shadow boxes that you used to create at school. And so being able to even create like a little mini film with these pictures or video. So it's important for us to be able to, I think about the spaces that we're going to be in, and thinking about like how we can engage our guests and what we can do to offset. We talked about before, like, hey, if we don't want to be talking about politics and we don't want to be talking about religion, and we want this to be a safe space for everyone who comes and for everyone to feel welcome, and to diminish the opportunity for people to be rude or dismissive, then we have some activities for them to engage in. We keep them going. I know some of you all like a good dirty Santa, so you will be bringing in gifts and people can steal them. We used to play that at our little church events, so our YPD events. I know the Women's Missionary Society used to play that. I'm like, you women are cutthroat over here with these paper products. So, but things like that allow people to be able to just have some fun, be creative. You may be able to engage other people, like those scramble words where their words are scrambled up and you have to figure out what the words are. And I love to see the young people trying to figure things out so they can best their parent or their aunt or their grandparent, little family competition, right? Because that does build some of those things. And then also, I think just being in that space of that we are at the end of this going to walk away still loving each other, that we're going to walk away still connected to each other, and that everything, whether we agree or disagree, or we get it all right or we don't get it all right, doesn't have to be divisive. And so I think that's really helpful for people to remember too. I think that the other thing too is, you, especially if you have younger kids who maybe are learning their speech or working on their speech development. Like, as you're playing these games, you're articulating rules, you're going through these dynamics that allows them to be able to improve their learning, their language skills. And it also, I think, really, for a lot of kids who can get overstimulated, and that's why I try to be very mindful not to have so much of the electronics going on. You've got a lot of people in a space, a lot of smells in a space, a lot of touch in a space. And so sometimes you'll see kids like they just are completely overwhelmed. When you do board games and crafts, that allows them to be able to calm down, to be able to focus. It's grounding for them. And it also allows them to be able to improve their frustration tolerance. And we recognize that our kids do get frustrated. We as adults get frustrated. But as you take turns and you practice patience, and you're learning how to navigate being in spaces with other people, then you're learning how to engage in ways that are more I think, respectful, and you have those boundaries, because that's essentially what these rules to these games are. Though some of y'all make up your own rules out here playing these games, and now the makers of these games have told y'all that y'all are not playing spades and Uno correctly. However, that does not stop us from playing deuces wild and stacking those draw fours on each other. But I think also it's important for us to understand that when you are doing activities that don't have a lot of external stimulation going on, it helps with anxiety. You can focus on something that's structured. It's something that allows you to be able to go at your own pace, to be able to connect with others in ways that may not necessarily feel so overwhelming, because you know what's expected. Like, I know I'm the next person to play, so I don't have to be in my head so much thinking about, oh, what should I say, what should I do. And then we like to encourage, especially our younger people, and people who may be learning how to do something for the first time, like, oh, really good job, right? So it also, again, allows their confidence to kind of grow. And I do think that sometimes when we are in spaces and, you're in that kind of little lull time where maybe you're waiting on food or you're waiting on people to get there, waiting for something, board games and crafts can be a great time for you to be able to engage people so they don't feel like they're sitting around waiting. Because we know people get really antsy when they have to wait for things and they keep coming. It's not done yet. They're not here yet. While we're waiting, people start getting a little cranky. So in addition to you passing around those appetizers, you can also definitely have games that are available for people. And I do think that because there is such a, I think, sometimes unspoken like animosity going on in families, because maybe we haven't seen each other in a while, and maybe the last time we saw each other something happened. That's a good way to allow people to, like, oh yeah, I remember us playing these games, or like it kind of releases some of that tension, and then maybe you'll be in a better position to be able to address some things when you're not on edge or just waiting on this person to do something. And so what it allows us to be able to do is be just a wee bit distracted and not feed some of the negativity. And I know that some of you have some relatives and they're kind of critical, and people that come in and you're like, let me see what kind of foolishness they're going to bring. And when they have things that are able to already be present, that they're launching right into, then it kind of takes some of that away from them, because now it's like, oh, you're being ushered into this activity, so you don't have time to feed that, to cause that discord. And I think also too, for those of you that may be having people who are new to the family gathering, it's a lot of pressure to walk in to all of these people that you may not necessarily know, and or maybe you've met but you haven't really formed any lasting relationships with. And so when you have something that you can focus on, then it allows you to feel like, okay, can take a breath, and feel included, and I'm not being judged. Because that's the other thing. Like, we really want this to be a light time. And I know a lot of you like to judge. Well, let's see who colored the best. Let's see who made the best gingerbread house. But also just recognizing that the celebration is in that we did it all together. And that instead we can take pictures of it. Like, you did so great. Let's get a picture of you by your gingerbread house. And then we kind of discourage that critical comparison behavior, because we do know that sometimes that is present in families as well. And so people are coming over and you're feeling like they're going to be judging you on what you look like, what you brought, who you're dating, what kind of house you got, like what your job is. And so these kind of crafts and activities get us out of that space, and let's again focus on doing something in this present moment that we're all engaged in, that gives us an opportunity to share and bond, as opposed to engaging in that comparison behavior. So there are a lot of different things that you all can do. There may be some people in the family that are a wee bit more creative and they can help you, but you also can just get on good old fashioned Google and look up some activities for people with based on varying ages, but also ability levels. If you have, you've got some people in your family that may have some attention deficit challenges, some problems with their executive functioning. There may be some people that may have some memory problems there. There may be people that get overstimulated really easy. You may know that there are some people that don't necessarily have great mobility in their hands and able to do fine motor skills. So there's a lot of different ways that you can make sure, again, that you're inclusive of the variety of people that are coming over. And also, if you don't know what might be helpful, then call and ask someone in the family that does have more information. It might be their parent, or it might be their sibling, or maybe their partner. Like, hey, what are some of the things that they're comfortably able to do that they enjoy? We want to incorporate that. And that feels really good to people, to know that they're being thought about and included. And in general, particularly if you know that there are kids that get overstimulated, adults that get overstimulated, being able to have spaces where there may be some of the more quiet activities. So you can come over here to Quiet Central, and you can do an activity and create it. And once you're finished, you can bring it out. So that gives you a chance to unplug. Okay, so let the games begin, and be well. Happy Thanksgiving to you.